Our research has identified four forces that are fundamentally changing the way investment management is evolving internationally and at some point in South Africa as well. We are a few years behind the rest of the world, but the key thing we're noticing is that there's definitely a redefinition of what skill is. You know, when people invest, they're trying to find a fund manager who's trying to beat a benchmark. We're trying to unpack, what that measure of skill is, because what you're finding is that people often take a lot of risk in order to beat a benchmark. So we are redefining how skill is going to decide whether somebody's good or bad at it. The second force that we are identifying is that there's definitely a shift away from the traditional way of picking stocks, which is a bottom-up kind of process, to much more of a top-down process. In other words, a risk focus. So you want to understand what is driving my portfolio rather than which shares should I invest in. There's definitely that kind of switch, and this is important because if you understand the risks, you can manage money better than if you're focusing on specific companies, not knowing what the risks are at a global level. So those are the kind of trends that we are seeing in the industry. So the key risk, unfortunately in South Africa right now, is called disappointment risk. It is the risk that the investors are going to feel disappointed. So they are investing with an expectation, and if they don't get that expectation, then they will disinvest. So right now the key drivers of disappointment risk are we need more communication from, for example, on the political front as to what the plan is in terms of what are we doing about state-owned enterprises, what are we doing about creating confidence in the currency. So those kind of short-term risks are very important. There are obviously longer-term risks, but they don't affect necessarily the investor. They affect people who have a long-term horizon, who want to come and build factories and set up big plants in South Africa. But the short-term risks are very much focused on those. There are obviously global risks as well. So there's the oil price is a key risk right now. People think that the rand is the most important risk, but it's actually the oil price affected by the dollar, which affects emerging markets, which affects our asset markets, equities and bonds. So there's a chain of events here that's important to understand, but it's starting with the dollar impacting commodities, impacting our economy and our markets in terms of sentiment.